Okay, this is the Delayed W podcast. And before I start off this episode, this is the last episode of season 1. And it's dedicated to Kobe and Gigi. Rest in peace. Yeah. I got my co-host here, Seven.
Hello there.
Of course, we got the panel here, Coconut.
What's up?
Kiki the Don.
What's cracking with it, my boys?
Swank.
How do y'all do?
Then we got our editor, Flame 16. So, Seven, what are we talking about today?
I don't know. What are we talking about? Can never remember.
Can't remember. I'm looking at the notes.
Is that sexist?
No. So, women's perspective.
Oh yeah, we always forget about that.
Jesus Christ. Enough of the jokes. But we got some guests here to speak their
we're
side.
joking. Yeah.
To speak their side, first guest is D.
Hi, everybody.
Then we got Hot Girl.
What's up?
And we got Saucy A. The whole reason I wanted to do this episode is because I just noticed like a lot of bullshit that women have to go through. And I want to get their side of the story so they can speak up and
Did you just
hopefully start a
notice
discussion.
I
mean, yeah.
Bro, you're part of the problem.
What was it that you wanted to hear?
Part of the problem.
I was part of the problem, honestly.
Okay, Future.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, that is disrespectful.
Not really, because, he's a Scorpio, so, Scorpio King all
Future
day.
is trash, dude.
Whoa. No
He's
Scorpio
trash.
slander right now. That's our king.
Future trash.
Our Lord and Savior,
He's trash,
Lord
and he is
Savior.
too unattractive to have the type of confidence that he has.
He has money though, so
God bless.
Money does a lot of things, but the one thing that it hasn't done is make him attractive. Sorry.
How many baby
He's
mamas
still
does he have?
ugly.
That nigga had like 10.
Too fucking many. Like, oh my gosh, how many women are you gonna fuck raw? Like, you just trying to catch something at this point.
Didn't he
maybe
just
he's
have a
trying to
kid
birth
too?
one of the savior. It's a prophecy.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even think
Your
about
25th
that.
son.
How old is he?
Too damn
How
old to
old
be
is
doing
he?
that.
30. He's
Really?
36.
Too damn old to be acting the way he does.
36, and he has 6 kids.
All with 6 different women, right?
Definitely.
It's more than this. I think he
I mean,
just
that's
had
just the
another
6 we
one.
know of.
Dang, what a guy.
Does he keep up with his kids?
Does he have to?
I doubt it.
Child support, probably, but besides that, I don't.
I think he does. Maybe.
I think he
don't
does
know.
though. Like
I
from social
hope he
media, it
does.
seems he's involved.
Defeat the stereotype,
Jeez.
Wow.
First thing I wanted to touch up on is how do you want guys to like approach you and like what's like the do's and nots to do's,
Okay, well, one thing, like, if you're on Tinder, like, one thing that has happened to me is that they're always, like, approaching me with, like, okay, this is, like, TMI, but this one dude, he had told me, he was all like, I want to eat you up like a Chinese buffet.
Whoa.
That's a pretty good line. Shit.
Oh, is he calling
Whoa,
you
he
shit?
didn't even. He could have at least. My
Calling
dude
you
could have
cheap
at
and
least see
nasty.
something like original. Like he could have said, "I'm trying to eat you like how a Grinch stole Christmas dinner" type shit. But okay, we'll
Whoa.
continue. Okay.
Somebody got experience on Tinder.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
So not too aggressive. Never.
I mean,
Yeah.
look, if we analyze it, he's comparing her to a Chinese buffet. Those are very cheap, and everyone's been up in there.
Oh,
Wow.
Really?
Damn, I didn't even think about that. Holy shit.
It's very backhanded.
First date is the dollar menu from McDonald's.
Hey, don't be calling me out like that.
Bro.
It's a Mickey D's backdoor special.
I like confidence, but I don't like arrogance. So you can be confident, but you can't be arrogant. Like, don't think that you're doing me a favor by coming to talk to me, because you're not. Because I'm better. I'm probably better looking than you are. That's me personally.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
What's the line between confident and arrogant?
Okay, I feel like the line is you're confident enough to be respectful. I feel like it starts to get arrogant when it's like, say, what's up, you trying to get on this dick or something like hella like corny like that. Like, because the answer that you're gonna get is not gonna be the answer that you're happy with. Because I'm gonna be like, no, I'm not trying to get on your little bitty ass dick. And I'm definitely not trying to talk to you. So please get the fuck.
Sounds pretty rough.
So yeah. I'm pretty rough. I've been told that I have a pretty rough personality.
Can't be as rough as I am.
That's cool.
So you're talking about strongly assertive?
Me?
Yeah.
I can be assertive. I'm pretty assertive. I'm pretty blunt. But that's just because that's how you have to, like, honestly, that's how you have to be when you're a woman sometimes. Because guys, like, when you try to let a guy down easy for whatever reason, it doesn't register and he thinks that he still has a chance.
Oh my God, they don't take a hint. That's a big problem.
Thank
you
you.
just
So
be
then you're like,
outright. Just be
okay,
blunt
now
then.
We're trying to be nice and like let you down like easy, but then you just like keep insisting like get up. Like if you've seen that you send so many messages and he's not answering or is being really dry, like why do you continue? Try.
Men
I
have
think
been
it's because
proven to have lower emotional intelligence and harder to pick up on
no,
cues
I
like
feel
that.
like
So you need to be
when guys
outright
don't get bluntly
upfront.
said no, they think there's still a chance.
No,
Like, they
but
just
even
Okay,
when
but
they do, they bluntly say
Yeah.
no. I do bluntly say no, and they
exactly.
continue to think like it's funny and still like message like no, like I'm for real.
I call that
Like
denial.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
yeah,
denial,
exactly.
and it's you also can't be like, oh, we're not as emotional, so we don't get it. Like, no, if I tell you fuck off, I clearly mean fuck off.
Yes.
Like,
If
there's
you really
Sometimes I
want me
feel
to
like
fuck off,
men think that like we just say that like just to be funny or that we want to play like hard to get or whatever, but like no, like ass.
it's 2020. No woman is playing hard to get.
Clearly, yes. Like for
what
what?
about leading guys on?
That should not be a thing either.
No.
Yeah, you would
Way the other way
hope so.
around.
What? Okay.
Hey,
Well,
But
Seven speaks from the heart.
what is your definition of being led on? Like,
You
what do you
get
mean when you say that?
you get used for answers for organic chemistry.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so personal.
Ew.
So Chris. That is different. Oh my god.
Seven, you
That
might
Shows
as
is
you,
well just say the
oh,
story.
yeah, yeah, I want to go to all these places with you. Here's a list. We can hit a bunch of these restaurants. I've really been looking forward to have someone to, do all these things with. And then after next week, hit her up. No response. Like, okay, maybe she's busy. First stage of denial. Second part, see her in person. Ask her about that. She's like, oh yeah, maybe we'll do it some other time. No response on text.
This sounds like a personal issue.
Oh yeah, Saint wanted me to tell the story, so I'm telling the story.
yeah, I don't think it's cool either for them to just keep on saying like, hey, yeah, maybe
No.
next time, whatever. Yeah, like I understand that is leading you on.
She definitely should have
Yeah.
said something.
Yeah.
She did
just
leave
say
me on for a
no.
month before, and then I asked her, to hang out. She's like, oh yeah, no, I'm gonna go to my boyfriend. I'm like, wait, why didn't you tell me that in the first place?
What?
Aw, that is such trash.
That's just disrespectful.
Damn, what
Yeah,
a
I
bitch.
didn't.
On from that
She
one.
really
Yeah,
played you.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
don't have an answer for that one.
That
She really
hurt
played
me.
you.
That hurt me.
Murder?
What?
Jesus.
What?
Murder?
What?
Murder?
Isn't that how you guys solve your problems?
No.
No.
What?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Just had to put that on record there. To be fair though, there's a lot of dudes that lead women on too. Like really, really bad.
I like the ones who like can't commit and then like keep on dragging it on.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that.
100%.
Was there any
Awesome.
times at your? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, was there any times where you're at your job or place and there's this dude that can't take a clue, like, hey, you're at work and they're trying to like flirt with you and stuff, you know?
It's
Yes.
uncomfortable. It's like it's hard. Like for me, I'm on the front, so like there's people like next to me too. And so like sometimes when they try to like game, it's really weird. It's like everybody's like listening and then they say some like corny stuff and it's really awkward. And I like turn it down most of the time because it's like older guys and it's just an awkward mess.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
Saucy, did you have any experiences like that?
One time when I was working at this one place, one of my coworkers was like trying to touch up on me. And I didn't want to be rude, you know, like I would have slapped the dude, but I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that because I'm not trying to get in trouble. So I told one of the managers and he was like, well, that's not my problem. Like I can't do anything about it. And that made me really
What?
fucking
Yeah, that's
upset.
the whole
Girl,
problem with
that's a
it.
fucking
Like that is
lawsuit.
such a big thing. Like that's crazy how they just like let that slide, and that's so common in like almost every workplace. Like that's just not acceptable,
True.
and the way that that's normalized is just crazy.
That's true. But I will fully fucking quit and I will raise fucking hell as I'm quitting because one, you're not gonna touch me. I will fight a dude. I don't give a fuck. These hands are equal opportunity. They don't see age, they don't see gender. I will fucking scrap.
See, that's
And
what I
if
say too, and people get mad at me. They're like, you can't hit a kid. I'm like, I don't care. Take my candy.
Fuck them kids.
I
like
don't know.
like
I
I
hit
hate
plenty
when
of
that
kids
happens
though.
though. I hate when that
Yeah.
happens. People who are supposed to protect you in the workplace are either like that's not my problem or they try to make it like it's your fault. So they go to
They
like the
try to
extreme.
twist it to dismiss it, so they don't really have to do anything about it.
Yep.
It's like, less paperwork, right?
Basically, yeah.
And that's why I quit
Huh.
places.
You're like, oh yeah, it's not a problem if I don't see it.
Jay
It's
knows.
crazy.
That's why I
Yeah,
quit.
yeah.
Well, we were working at together.
It was real weird, and I already had got a weird vibe from the person that really did that, and management didn't give a shit, and they showed like they didn't give a shit. And there's so many people
That
that
was
they
fucking
protect
crazy.
that are out of line. Like, I'm not gonna
To
say
this
this.
day?
I mean, if you think about it, because there's still instances where they can be yelling at a woman for no reason, just trying to treat them like shit and make them feel like they're like a peasant, I guess, because they have that form of power of management, and they think it's okay, and then they get away with it because other managers try to cover for them, or they don't want to fill out paperwork and stuff like that.
That's so ridiculous. I feel like what makes it worse is that that's at that specific place, there are women who are in charge.
True.
There are women in charge and they just fully don't give a fuck.
Damn.
Probably got to deal with it too.
Well, they don't even deal with it. They
Maybe like
okay
in
it.
like, oh
Maybe.
yeah, it's normal. That's what it is. It's normal
Yeah.
Yeah.
when it shouldn't.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, it's been that way for thousands of years, but we got to change that shit.
Okay, I have a question for the guys. Okay, so like, I don't know if like the other girls like they care about body count, but I know guys like it's for like some of my friends, I know that body count is like a big deal to them. But like, okay, say like a guy can have like, I don't know, 30 bodies.
I've been waiting on this question.
Okay, 20 bodies. But a girl, she has, so a guy and a girl both have the same body count. Like, do you think it matters?
Just be happy you're fucking it now and just keep it going, bucko. That's all I'm gonna say on the matter.
For me, I don't think about stuff like that. That's kind of like the same for a guy being, as I feel, a guy is insecure if they're like, oh, was your ex dick bigger, or how many people you slept with? Like that's you being insecure. Like that shouldn't matter. Now, maybe saying, making sure both of y'all are, don't have any type of diseases or being checked up with doctors. Like, okay, I understand that, but why do you need to know someone else's like body count? What do you get out of that?
I think guys kind of look at it that way. It's like, oh, if you have more body count, then you're better or you're the best one. I don't know. It's just something like that. But then if girls have a lot of body count, they're just like, damn, that's like a useless lock, while a guy has like a master key. Something like that.
I think that's funny too.
Yeah,
that guys get praised for getting so many girls, but a girl sleeps with a couple of guys and she's a slut.
That's more of a social cue that's been normalized.
It's like a double
It's just
standard.
I don't
Yeah,
consider
it's
it
Huge double standard.
It shows how women are objectified.
Exactly. This is why.
If we think about it
Women's
historically,
perspective.
The way women have been treated in a lot of societies is, an object. Like, no one wants to marry a woman that's not a virgin, and that's why they used to, do tests, so-called tests and stuff like that, just to prove
They
that.
say that until she can't throw it back, and then. But
yeah, I don't know about y'all, but I don't want somebody that don't know what they're doing and be married and be like, oh damn, this doesn't match at all.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that's
how they did
changing.
it back in for the better.
Yeah, I don't think I've met a guy that cares about it anymore. He just wants to know what the head game is like. But also same.
This was not a topic on there, but let me ask y'all: do y'all feel a type of way when somebody says instead of woman?
Like, what do you mean? Like,
females?
if they say,
Yeah, they just use the word female instead of like women.
I don't like the word females.
It has a certain connotation behind it that isn't typically positive. It depends on the context, right?
yeah.
Because I know, like,
Usually when they say it, it's like when they're about to say something like,
So, yeah, man, these females out here, and then they say something pretty ignorant, right?
Okay. Because I remembered a tweet where like someone said like, I'm sick of y'all like y'all men out here calling us females or something like that.
Is that the one where you got a bunch of likes on it?
I had a bunch of retweets about it, and I literally was just like, y'all females are weird. Some people like agreed with it and was like laughing at it, but I don't get it. But
because I feel like usually when they say that, it's leading to an insult. So they are saying it in like not offensive, because I mean, yeah, it's just saying female, but the way that they use it, then when it's something like in a good way, they'll say like women. You can tell the difference of like what they're talking about when they say female and women. Like they really are used two separate ways.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
I don't like it just because it's an adjective. Like it's used to describe. It's a description word. Like I'm a fucking woman. Don't call me a female. That dog over there, that's probably a female too. And that cat, and possibly that plant over there. Like it's an adjective. Like don't refer to me as an adjective. That's like if we as women walked around and called dudes like, oh, hey, little dick, or hey, little, like y'all, that would not be cool for y'all. Like y'all would feel some type of way if we referred to you all in an adjective that described y'all instead of this man or that guy. Okay, but why would we say that? Like that sounds stupid. Like as stupid as like, oh, look at that male over there. As dumb as that sounds, That's how
Sounds
dumb
weird.
female sounds to me.
You're right.
That
That
makes
does sound.
sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really,
These
I
males
don't
ain't
really
shit.
mind. Yeah, I don't really mind, but then again, I don't really care about a lot of things, so it's not a fair assessment. You can call me a lot of names, I really wouldn't care. Call me
But
chink,
you're a
gook,
different breed,
it's
though.
hilarious.
Wait a
Oh
minute.
yeah, I'm
Wait.
not like these other bullies. I'm not like these other males.
Wait a minute.
What?
Did you just? Never mind. Just never mind. I just
What,
peeped what
gook,
you just said.
chinks, zipperhead?
Yeah.
Did you just assume my gender?
Oh.
Yes, I did, and what are you gonna do about it?
Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna file a complaint, you whore.
Anyway.
Good luck doing that when you're dead. Yeah, honestly, look, you can say anything you want if you can back it up.
That's correct.
Lies.
That's correct.
Lies. So if you're saying someone can't call you, the worst thing in the world and have a gun to your head?
No, they fully can't. That will be the day that they can shoot me.
I mean, they can say whatever you want. They want. They have you tied up with a gun to your head. What are you gonna do? You just have to take it.
They will fully fucking shoot me because I will headbutt the fuck out of it.
You say that now.
Like, there's consequences for everything, though.
Yeah, of course. You got to be ready to back up what you say.
There was one topic I wanted to add in there. That I did talk about with a friend. You all know T.I., the rapper.
Yes, sir.
No, I wouldn't say yes, sir.
Not a rapper.
Does everybody know about the clown shit that he did?
Yeah, how he be
With his
checking his
daughter?
how he be checking his
Yeah.
daughter's Heimlich and shit. Yeah, that's stupid.
That's weird.
That's fucking weird.
Super
It's
fucking
very weird.
I wonder how the
It's
girl
very-
feels.
She felt
Probably
really
She
fucking
liked the
weird.
tweet that was like dissing it, so like kind of like agreeing that she didn't really like it.
You could tell that she felt like clearly violated and embarrassed.
Mm,
I can't imagine anyone who would like that.
for what? And honestly, that Red Table Talk didn't help him. Like I didn't watch the second part, but I did watch the first one. And wasn't really helping him. Like I know you said they respect after they get daughters, but like I feel like he still didn't learn. Still like didn't even know what the patriarchy was. Like what? You're supposedly Mr. I know big words like
Fake woke.
Yeah, I think that's just real weird, especially like some men they do, which is weird that they somehow respect women after having daughters. But I feel like he's one of those type of dudes that doesn't respect women, especially when you treat your wife a type of way and cheat and all that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there has to be a certain level of disrespect for you to go and cheat on someone, regardless.
I mean, to be
That's
fair,
true.
she did her dirt too. If you gonna be honest here, like
Only
No,
after. And that was a reaction to his action.
Fucking.
She didn't even do anything
I agree.
that bad either. If we're being real, she was dancing with Floyd Money Mayweather. That's it.
I mean, like,
Did
look,
that
what are you gonna
deserve?
do?
Yeah, that's Floyd. He will knock your ass out.
And
Nothing
that's
a
why
gun
T.I.
can't
didn't
solve.
do anything.
And he tried to make her seem bad and all that. And about to have that divorce. And
She would have
unnecessary.
walked away with all the money. Like she had money before she met him. A divorce would have only benefited her.
It blows my mind that she sacrificed her music career for him.
like for what?
Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, I guess when your net worth is that, like, you can.
People do stupid things in the name of so-called love.
Yeah, I just want to point out, you can love somebody, but don't put yourself on hold and your progress. You should be able to both work at that together and work to be better. Don't stop what you're doing because you still call love someone.
I fully agree.
I mean, if
I
they
feel like
actually
that
love
was
you, they
any
let you
relationship though.
prove.
Like friendships, family relationships, romantic relationships. Like if it's not benefiting you and if it's not making you happy and if it's putting more stress and just more emotion, like negative emotions on you, then cut them the fuck out of your life. Distance yourself because your mental health and your happiness comes first.
Yep.
How do y'all feel about, like, let's say you're in a relationship, like, do y'all feel the type of way when your significant other has a friend that's a different gender?
You cut off. What did you say?
Like, do y'all feel the type of way, like, if you have a boyfriend and he has, like, a really, really close, like, friend as a girl? Like, do y'all feel uncomfortable with that?
I feel like if you're in a relationship with someone, it's because you trust them. So if they have a best friend that they've always had or whatever, you have that trust in that person. Like you started dating them because you trust them. Hopefully that's the case, you know?
Yeah, like if you don't trust him with her, then I mean you don't have trust, and I mean it sounds like a rocky relationship already. So yeah, I definitely think that should, because I feel like it is really normal for like girls to hate girlfriend, but I feel like it shouldn't be like that. That's his friend.
Because I know a lot of girls have guy
Yeah,
best friends. So it's like,
yeah.
I think it depends on the dynamic. Like if it's when you're like when you see them interacting, I think that like if they're clearly they just have like a friend, like if you can tell the vibe. Like if it looks like they're just strictly friends, then I don't think that it's an issue. I think that it's an issue
Yeah, you
if
can tell.
they get like like if you're feeling like more intimate vibes as far as like there's something there, like it's maybe something that they haven't explored, but there's definitely like some romantic feelings involved. I think then it becomes an issue, but I don't care if my significant other has friends that are the opposite sex.
yeah, just as long as they're giving me my place.
Exactly. And not getting different when they're around their homegirl and like no, like if you were showing me affection yesterday, continue to do that. Don't distance yourself because you're in front of your friend.
Mm-hmm.
So how does everybody feel about abortions?
About what?
Abortions, personally, I feel like
Kiki, we
it's.
don't want to hear your perspective. We want to hear the women's perspective.
I mean, he said everybody, so I kind of thought he was
Go
talking about.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dang, you didn't have to cut him
Go
out
ahead.
like that. That's
Go ahead.
fucked.
I'm just messing with you, dude.
Nah, bro. Y'all say what y'all gotta say. It's cool.
No,
Oh,
no,
he
no.
hurt his feelings.
No, Kiki, go for it, man.
Nah, bro. He.
See, this is part of the problem, bro. Yeah.
Go ahead, King. We waiting on you.
All right. Personally, I feel like it's kind of like the woman's decision, and it kind of depends on like the circumstance. You know what I mean? Like if y'all got raped or something like that, then I kind of perfectly 100% like understand it. But on the flip side, I just kind of understand that like whether you just out here just having unprotected sex, like I do understand that like some people just feel like the woman, some people they just feel like they just not ready for a kid. So I kind of like, but I definitely feel like it's up to like the woman if they want to decide that. It's for sure as hell not up to us, like the men.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
'Cause
I completely agree. I feel like it's whatever they want to do, like for whatever reason, if they don't feel like they're ready and they just don't want it, then they just don't want it, like for whatever the reason it is. And I feel like it probably should, like, I mean, if it wasn't rape, it probably should be a conversation, but ultimately it's gonna be her decision. It's her body. Like you're gonna tell someone like control birth a child, like no, that's completely up to her because she's the one that's gonna go through it.
I
I
just
mean,
think
there's
it's
always going to be an
crazy.
exception,
Even if
right?
you personally like don't agree, like not your body, like let the other person like decide whatever they want.
I agree.
Yeah, 100%. Because that's a woman's body, and I just think it's weird that like you have representatives, crazy white old men specifically, always want to say what a woman should or should not do with their body, and it's just crazy, and it
That
needs
doesn't
to
make
stop.
sense.
They want to tell
I
everyone
feel
else
like
what
that
to
has
do.
to do with white male privilege or white male entitlement. Like they feel like they own the world and everything in it because history tells them that if they fight hard enough or if they hurt someone else enough, then they're in control.
Mm.
Yes, ma'am.
It's even more sad though when you had like a white governor. I forget what her name was. Even she was like, "No, there shouldn't be abortions." Like, how are you against this? That
It's ridiculous.
I guess because of religion.
yeah.
I mean, I guess, but I don't feel like I feel like people pick in like as far as like religion and what it has to and how it relates to like government issues. I feel like people pick and choose what parts of religion they want to use for policing communities.
Yeah.
Like abortion is
And the religious
bad. Like
conflicts.
it conflicts with our religion. Abortion conflicts with our religion, but um separating families is totally fine. Pulling a child from their mother's arms and like sending that mom to whatever random country, whether she comes from there or not, that's totally cool. That religion says nothing about that. Like it's very hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Preach, girl.
I mean, you think these people care about religion?
they sure
They
don't.
just say they
They
do
don't.
to get votes, to justify, what they want to do.
It's just a form of control.
It's a tool,
Yeah.
like anything else.
That's a huge reminder for everybody to go
To go what?
Yes.
vote,
Vote.
man.
You need to register to vote before the 15th, I believe.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate. So, I have a friend, and
Mm-hmm.
one of like her roommate. It used to be like one of her good friends, but they're on very very bad terms now. So her roommate had a boyfriend, and they had a kid. She got pregnant. They wanted to, have the kid and everything, but things went south with their relationship, and the girl basically, in order to spite the guy, she got an abortion. She's like, you don't care about me, then I'm going to kill our child. Her words, not mine.
That's really sick.
Yeah.
That's super sick.
So like, how would you design legislation to prevent things like that? Or how would you handle that? These extreme cases.
I feel like that sucks. Like that's a bad situation. But like ultimately I feel like it should be her decision. Like, I mean, yeah, she fucked up, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is her like decision.
I think
I
that's what a lot of
agree.
the abortion, uh, like, well, how do I say this? The people against abortion, what they argue for is the state should protect the child, the to be born child. Like they're saying that the fetus is a person.
I
It's
think
not.
That's what they try to. That's
Well,
what they try to base a
right.
bunch of
you
their.
got to look at this though. If a person is willing to do that out of anger, just
Yes. Oh my
imagine
gosh.
what they would be as a parent. Because there's a lot of parents
Yes.
these days
Mm.
that don't deserve to be parents and shouldn't be parents.
Preach. And they
Yeah.
definitely should
True.
have had
100%.
abortions. Yes. Hell, there are people walking this earth right now who are loads that should have been swallowed.
There's
Yeah.
so many people in the system, like, and that's just a hard life to live in, to have to be put through the system like that, especially as a kid. And didn't even, ask to really be in the world, and it could have been
Yes.
avoided because the system is tough. It's bad. The way that they have it set up, the system, it's terrible.
Especially if you don't get sent or if you don't go into a foster home or if you don't get adopted out. Like once you're 18, you're out on the street. Like
Yeah, you're on your own, kid. Bye bye.
Yeah, and like
Couldn't
you
make
don't
you
have
happy.
it, like you don't have any family, you don't have anyone that you can rely on, and you're already in the system. So a lot of the time, kids who are in the system and who grew up in the system, they end up getting into things that can get them arrested or caught up, and now they're once again wards of the state.
Continuing to play the devil's advocate, say, in this case, the father of this child or soon to be child, he really wants to, keep the kid and raise him without the mother because the mother just turns out to be a very bad person, like I said. And now instead of deciding to get an abortion, what she wants to do is do everything in her power to harm the child while in the womb. Doing hard drugs, smoking, all these bad things just to spite the male.
That just makes it even more like glaringly obvious, like how important abortion is, because
Yeah.
no, like what, like I understand that while the man may want to be a father, is that who you want to be the mother of your child? And are you willing to be, do you want a child so selfishly that you would allow that child to come into harm's way, possibly have countless medical issues because you wanted a child so badly? Fucking adopt.
I do
Yeah.
I
think
mean,
that
yeah, you
is
could
very
always adopt, but should there be repercussions for this woman? For purposely endangering
She should go to jail.
soon-to-be person.
I think they can get in trouble.
I mean,
Like, you've heard the same
how
speculation.
far along would you say that she is in her pregnancy? Because I feel like if the baby is still just chromosomes and that baby doesn't have eyes and ears,
So like the first
and
trimester.
yeah, like I feel like if it's in the first trimester, then I mean, I think she's punished enough by all the damage she's doing to her body out of spite. And I think if she's doing something like that out of spite, then I don't think it should be an issue of punishing her. I think that she needs to be placed in a psychiatric ward because she clearly has mental issues that need to be addressed.
Needs
Yeah.
help.
Right.
Yeah.
So assuming that this baby is like 8 months and about to be pregnant, and something just goes batshit wrong with the relationship, and she decides to screw over the father by either A, getting the abortion, or B, wrecking the child's life by doing all these
Well,
harmful things. So like,
scientifically, you
should there
can't get
be?
an abortion after 20 weeks, I believe. So
I
she just
mean,
have
if
to
you
first.
take a bat to the stomach, I'm pretty sure that's going to be pretty bad.
Well, I mean, if someone else is taking a bat to the stomach, that's attempted murder.
Yeah, like she's like, I don't care what happens to me, hire a hitman and just bam, or fall down.
Well, then, yeah, obviously she should be punished because she's committed a crime.
Mhm.
But I also still think that she needs to have a psych evaluation because there's a chemical imbalance that is telling her that in order to harm someone else, she needs to harm herself or someone else.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Especially
so
after they have babies too.
so like in this case, like say the father uncovers this whole plot to like spite him and all this thing. Should there be some protection for the child at the cost of this woman's freedom? Like,
I would say,
should like they lock her up in a psych ward and just let her, have the child naturally, or should they say, okay, we'll just let her do what she wants. It's her body.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little tricky. I feel like that's probably like a
Yeah, I know
case
this is
by case for
completely
sure, and
hypothetical.
it's
Yeah,
a lot
case
of
by
different
case.
variables. And I
yeah,
really
I
don't know how to even
definitely,
answer that. I just feel like it just depends with everything.
I definitely feel agree with that. Like that is
Yeah.
a
So how
crazy
would you design
scenario.
legislation or a system to take these things case
Well,
by case,
what you're kind
right?
of
Yeah. So
describing
you could
though,
this basically an eggshell. Why the abortion debate is so hard.
what you're describing though is an extreme case, and it's kind of reminding me of I think season 1 of American Horror Story. I don't know if any of y'all seen that.
I love
But
American Horror Story.
I remember.
like that was a very like kind of similar like situation in a sense, because the mom was like pregnant and like she was kind of like going. They made it seem like she was going crazy, and of course they like checked her in and stuff to like a mental institution or whatever. So I mean that's a really extreme case, and a lot of variables that would have to be. Well,
Yeah,
you know,
and I just think the focus should be on everything else that's not extreme, and actually that the women who need abortions get abortions. Like, I can't believe it's illegal. In what state was that? Oh, Mississippi? Oh,
Yeah. So ideally, what we would like is there to be a conversation between the parties involved, and the final say going towards the woman, right?
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
has absolute final say. But in the case that someone a woman does have a mental health issue, then that really muddies things up, doesn't it? Like, oh,
yeah. I
we're
mean,
going
it's
to
kind
send
of
her
the
to
case
do a
now. I
psych
mean, I'm not saying like,
eval and do all
I
these
think that it
things.
should be pretty generalized.
Mm.
But I think when it does come to like super specific and extreme cases, then I think it'd be on a case by case. But like, can you say the same thing for a guy? I don't know. He thinks his girlfriend is gonna break up with him, and he knows that she doesn't want to have. So he pokes holes in the condom so she gets pregnant. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you get what I'm saying? Like, does that
Yeah.
now mean that he should like have a mandatory vasectomy because he's doing this out of spite?
Yeah. So it's basically the same issue, just flipped.
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, the final say really should go to the woman, because the man's not carrying a kid. No. So.
Exactly.
And so that
yeah.
brings us up to another point. I know we talked about this in a previous no, it wasn't an episode. It was a reaction that we did. It was with Coconut, Saint, and I. We watched the Dave Chappelle special, and he had a little bit about this. He's saying women should 100% get the final say, but men should have a choice in paying for the child. If the woman decides to have the child, even though the man doesn't, then he should be able to decide whether or not he wants to pay child support. So how do you guys feel about that? Or
Wait, what do you mean about the child support?
so I'll put it in his words. If she's allowed to kill the kid, I don't have to fucking pay for it. That's what he says. Now, of course, this is a bit. I don't know if he actually supports
And
this
that's
or not.
basically like
saying
if
that
she
the girl's
decides to
gonna
keep
abort it
the
already,
child.
so I feel like they're on the same page.
Yeah.
I
So
get
no.
that,
If the woman decides to keep the child,
if she
right?
decides to keep it and he
Oh,
doesn't want to have the child, then should he be
Yeah.
obligated to pay for the child? Is
Yeah.
basically like the bit.
Yeah.
Tricky.
It's kind of tough though, because when you're having like a sexual act, you end up getting pregnant. That's kind of both on their fault, because
Yeah.
the outcome
I think
could happen.
that they
think
can
it
choose
depends.
to not have custody of it, right? Like they can, if they
Yeah.
really don't want to claim the child, can just like not have like any type of, because with child support, that means y'all have to come with an agreement that y'all have custody over X amount of time, like whatever
Exactly.
agreement y'all come up with. But that's like an agreement. I think that he can just walk away.
Yeah.
I think
I
with the
agree.
way the laws are set up now, the way it is no matter what, the man still has to pay, and they can prove it through a DNA test.
I think you have to be on the birth certificate as well, though.
Yeah, because you
I
can like
think.
not choose to not be on the birth certificate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But
then
I
you have
also
some
think it
cases where
depends.
they're not even dad at all, and they still end up having to pay that child support.
Yeah.
That's true.
So like
That's true.
I can
depends.
understand child support, like if it was like a couple who just wanted to have the kids and they split up and the man's like, oh, I don't want to pay for the kids. And they're like, no, you had the kids and you've been paying for them now, so you can't just back out now. That makes sense. But it does get a little foggy if the accident does happen and the man doesn't want to pay, but the woman wants to keep the child. Should he be obligated to pay? Like, you can argue that
I mean, if he's not going to be in the
they were
life like
both.
at all, I mean, you just
It's like I just
I'm
want to.
like, I mean, people do that already. They just don't pay.
But
I think it depends. I think it depends. Like, I think if they've had a discussion where she's like, I want to have kids, and he's like, I don't, and she's like, yeah, but can you help me get a kid? Like, and he's like, okay, but I'm not gonna have anything to do with it. Then I think that makes sense. But I think if they're in a relationship and they're just fucking raw, and she happens to come up pregnant, it's partially his fault. Like, she didn't get pregnant by herself, and they both knew the consequences of having unprotected sex, so they should both be held responsible whether he wants to have that child or not. Like, did you think about that before you came in?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, let's say like in this case, like the condom did break, or like we do hear cases where big people with a lot of money, male celebrities, they end up sleeping with a woman who purposely wants to get pregnant so they can get the child support money. Like in that case, should this man still have to pay?
That's called a bot lesson.
A what?
A bot lesson. Like, in my opinion, there are consequences to everything that we do, and if as a celebrity you are fucking random women unprotected, there are only so many
Not even
ways
unprotected
that
case.
could go.
Or she just
okay,
she
so you're saying
like we said, she pops a hole in the condom, right?
Okay, well then,
yeah.
I don't think that he should be obligated to pay child support because she was clearly trying to trap him. But I also think we have to be able to prove that.
Yeah. How do we prove that? That's the thing. Things get murky whenever you literally go into the bedroom. Unless you have everything on record. It's like here's a video of us saying yes, we want to have sex. No, we don't want to have kids. Like you can't really legislate the bedroom.
That's true.
There's always heat of the moments too, and I hate that like society tries to make it seem like, oh, you know what you're doing. There's times where it just
obviously
happens.
Don't know what we're doing. Look where we're at right now.
Exactly.
That's true. You can get caught up in the heat of the moment, but I think that like once the moment is over with, and then it's like months down the line, and old girl is pregnant, like I think that a conversation needs to be had, and I think that there should be an agreement. I don't think that it should necessarily be one person being like, well, I want the kid, and the other being like, I don't want. There needs to be some type of compromise.
The mediation.
Yeah.
Do you think a good solution would be, okay, women have the 100% saying what happens to their body, right? Men, they won't have to pay a penny if they don't want to. And a way to remedy that is if your man decides not to pay for the kid, then you will get support from the government. I think that might exist in some fashion, but that would be
I think that makes sense.
It would be ideal, but I don't think that would actually pass in most of these states.
Not in America.
Even on a federal level, not even a federal level. Like no, we don't want to pay child.
We don't want to take care of our citizens.
Child support. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
they should take care of themselves.
Kind of a thing, like with like food stamps and stuff.
I agree. Yeah, But I get what he's saying, like actual like funds, like to like pay for like clothes and things like that.
Because that brings up another argument where ultimately, where does the power lie? Does it Who gets to say it in a child's life? The government's like, oh, since we're paying for the kid, we get to say what happens with the kid. And that just brings up a whole other can of.
Yeah, that does. I think
That's
it's
true.
very tricky, and I don't think that it's right how it is right now. I feel like it should be a lot more in depth. Like I feel like social workers should be involved and to see, exactly what you said, what's in the best interest of the child.
I
But
agree.
there's just not a lot of work put into like there is supposed to, like there should be.
I
Yeah,
agree.
there's not enough
Yeah.
funding because the funding, is decidedly going elsewhere. The big elephant in the room. I won't even say it, but
Straight to the
we all know where
military.
a lot of the money's going to.
I agree.
But
I
let me
definitely.
ask y'all though. Let's say they mutually agree. The father doesn't want to be involved with the child, and like years later, I don't know, that changes heart. They want to see the kid. Would they be in the wrong?
Just be like,
I
why
feel like it's
now?
very normal. I feel like that happens. I feel like that's a sticky situation for that family and for that kid, to emotionally go through. But I mean, that happens a lot.
Yeah,
Oh, I
your
can
kid
I can
happens to
speak.
be an NBA star or something. It's like, oh yeah, that's my kid. Yeah,
Now
give
you
me
want
money
to talk
now.
about
It happens a lot.
it.
Okay, that's
For
as
me,
far.
like with my family, I like my actual dad. He left when I was like 2 or 3, and my mom and my stepdad have been together for most of my life. And my stepdad has raised me because at the time my dad was like, I don't want to, I don't want to raise a child. And it was the same with my older brother,
Right.
because we share a dad. But when he did decide that he wanted to be a father again, I was like 14. But by then, I'm basically already who I'm going to become in the world.
Yeah.
Like I don't really need like my like I've already been raised. So at this point, you're not really coming into my life to be a parent. You're coming into my life to be a friend, and I don't really need any more friends. It's kind of like a no new friends type of situation.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense in your case for sure. There are other cases where the opposite might be true, where at 14
Yeah,
this
that's
person
true.
isn't entirely formed, and their parent figure, they want to come back in their life, and maybe it will be for the good of this child. It really is
I
case by case.
definitely, I definitely think it depends on that child because by then the child is. Well, I guess it depends on the age of the child and whether or not they want to have that relationship with that parental figure.
Yeah.
I guess that could bring us to another point. How old is 14 really? A good example. A lot of times, black kids, black teenagers, they get tried as adults, and white teenagers don't. For the same crime.
Mhm.
And how do we? What? How old is 14 really? Like I
Yeah, I
know.
think that's crazy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. But I think the point that you just made, I feel like those are two separate issues. Said that a black 14-year-old will get tried as an adult while a white 14-year-old. I don't think that has anything to do with the age rather than the race.
And
Yeah.
I just think
systemic
that that's
oppression.
happening. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I
And
agree. I think at
I'll give an
14 you're
example
still a
that doesn't.
child.
Yeah, I'll give an example that doesn't involve race. Let's say at 16, right? You're allowed to have a driver's license in most states, right? And
Okay.
if you do get into a car accident, then should they try you as a child or should they try you as an adult? Say you just made a bad call and you end up barreling into a school bus and killing a bunch of preschool kids or something. Do they try you as an adult
Yikes.
or they
Ooh.
try you as a child? On one hand, you could say, oh,
Mm.
know, this person has a driver's license. We need to treat them as an adult. Like the state saying that they're allowed to have a driver's license that they fully understand and accept their responsibilities as a driver. On the other hand, you can say, oh, it's just a kid, like you're gonna mess up their whole life by, condemning them for this one mistake they did.
I need a full like breakdown of this because I think it depends on what that 16-year-old was doing. Like, was the 16-year-old texting? Were they like
No, it's just
listening?
like
Like,
they
was
got
it just like
distracted,
a
like on the
genuine
road.
accident?
Just a genuine accident.
Then I don't think that they should necessarily be tried because that happens with adults all the time. Like an accident that was completely beyond their control. Like they weren't doing anything wrong. It was just a horrible accident. That person doesn't necessarily get tried. Or they might get like
They might not get tried for criminal case,
they
but
might
they
get
could
like
get tried
yeah,
for
right.
civil
They won't
court
be
law for
they won't
manslaughter.
right, exactly. I was just about to say they won't be tried criminally, but they'll be charged or they'll be tried in civil court. And I mean, I suppose that you could charge or you could try a child in civil court, but will you really get anything? Because they're a child, like they don't have any assets.
I feel like they should definitely get consequences. About like actually like throwing them in jail. I feel like it's something different. I don't think we should. I mean, they are 16. Ruin their entire life, like you said. But I don't think it should just be like a small slap on the wrist either. Like, I mean, it was a big thing. They killed people.
Killed a bunch of pre-K kids. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's circumstantial. Like I think if like it's an accident and the 16-year-old killed a bunch of kids and they're like very clearly like fucked up because they cut short the lives of all these children, then I think that that's punishment enough. Like having
I feel like on top of that, they
like
should
I
definitely
killed
get help.
12 5-year-olds,
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
but like unless the 16-year-old is like unfazed and like does not give a fuck that they just killed a bunch of preschoolers, then they definitely need to be punished. But I think that it depends on the circumstance.
Yeah.
All right,
Either way, I
so
definitely think we need help
Yeah.
through that.
let's shake it up now. Let's say a 14-year-old male versus a 14-year-old female. If should and I in a bunch in some cases you hear the 14-year-old kid getting male for it's like, oh yeah, this he's only 14, he doesn't know what he's doing, or compared to a girl at 14, usually the law, or not the law but just society says, oh, she practically almost an adult, and yeah, the double standard between kids at that teenage age. Yeah.
Really double standards that shouldn't be. I feel like it should be equal. Like whatever, one will get, the other will too, which, like you said, those are double standards. I agree that people, women, like
rape.
when at 14, they should be able to make these decisions and then go around and say the opposite for boys.
Like a good example of this would be rape.
Mm.
Like say like a 14-year-old boy, rapes a girl, 14-year-old girl, and in court, like we said, they would say, oh, he's just a boy, or he didn't really know what he was doing, and they try to make all these excuses for him versus the girl. They're like, oh, she's 14, she knew what she was getting herself into. It's just that it seems that society views women as older than their age comparatively to men.
That's true. Society definitely over sexualizes girls and makes like society forces girls to act more mature so then they can say, well, she was the more mature one in this situation. She knew what the consequences were, when that's not the case.
Exactly. And I mean, we can track this back through history too. Back that's not even 100 years ago in certain countries. Even now, women or girls are considered to be women like once they hit puberty, and that standard isn't the same for boys, and they basically get sold off as wives to some 30-year-old person.
That's true in a lot of underdeveloped countries. There are
Yeah, you can still see that in
very
even our
many child
society.
brides.
Yeah.
Yes, that's and then the arranged marriages too.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Women should not go through that. Those girls should not go through that. It's sickening.
It's creepy. Like, look at all the polygamous, like counties and things like in Utah and everything, where they're marrying off like
Oh yeah, the Mormons.
girls as soon as they have their period to like 40-year-old men.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these
That's
societies, like the families, like they fully believe that what they're doing is right, and what they're doing is going to be the best life for their daughter.
Yeah.
That's the way they've been raised and just how their culture is.
I
And
feel like parents should get held accountable for that too.
I agree. I mean, at that point, you're basically like selling your child into the slave trade, into the sex slave trade.
yeah, that's pretty much what's happening. 'Cause
Like,
you do
have
see a
y'all
lot
seen
of
the
poor
Epstein
families.
documentary?
The Jeffrey Epstein. I haven't watched
I
it.
haven't watched it yet.
I know it's going to be super uncomfortable to look at, though.
It's ridiculous the amount of victims there are. He literally created like a whole like sex trafficking just for his pleasure. It's crazy, and the amount of money and power that he had and got away with everything, and he did it for so many years. I think it was like since like 90s until like 2010, I
Until
think
he died.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
know that was it anonymous? They like leaked or somebody found like they were calling it his little black book of all of like his quote unquote clients, and then some of the girls that he, I guess, had on like retainer,
Mm-hmm.
which is gross.
Yes.
But it's also super sad.
yeah, he had a whole island dedicated to raping little girls. And
Jeez.
a lot of celebrities and people in the high places would go visit, and some would participate in the things. Like the workers talked in the documentary too, and like they all knew what was going on. Everybody knew, the flight attendants at the airport, drivers, everybody working
And
for
they should
Epstein.
all
Like
be held
everybody knew.
responsible.
Yes, I agree. Nobody did anything, but I mean, nobody
That's
could.
just
But
like with R. Kelly.
Yeah,
Big
all of them should
facts.
be arrested.
That's
Entire
just like with R.
staff,
Kelly.
management,
All of his like road people and his tour people, and they all should be held responsible, because I mean, all of these people are aiding and abetting a crime.
Let's switch gears for a moment. Saint, did we have any other topics that we wanted to cover, or that you guys wanted to cover? Since this is your episode.
I mean, we didn't really touch on sexual assault.
I'd like to get into that and how I mean, this was, I don't know if y'all are all like on Twitter, but this was a big thing recently, a lot of were with their stories. Then here comes some people talking about these lies, or people are doing it for whatever, and just focusing on the people who lie should be held accountable. Where's that energy for the people who don't lie? Majority of people don't lie. Majority of people do go through it and don't get believed in, and they don't get justice. But you're worried about few cases where like people lie. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that I feel like that is mainly from the males, the guys. There's they're not really concerned with uh the plight that women go through. They're more concerned about them getting a false accusation. It's really they're just trying to look out for themselves. They don't really care about what's going on with the women themselves.
I wouldn't say all of them. though,
Yeah,
because
no,
then you
definitely.
have those.
We can't generalize for
Yeah,
sure, but
because there's
a good
small cases where there's black males that get falsely accused of rape from white women,
yeah,
and then they flat out lie about it and they don't get punished at all. Instead,
That's true. Emmett
that
Till.
black male was like 17,
yep,
and he didn't spend almost entire lost a
Central
college
Park 5,
scholarship.
Bucko.
You know,
Yep.
like there's so many
Countless
factors to it.
others.
Yeah,
yeah,
there's true.
but
Definitely
with
those.
that, I feel like with those cases that has a lot to do with race for sure. But let's just let's just eliminate race just for now. We can go back to it, but just general.
Yeah, in general, I still feel like there should be a same punishment on both sides.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
agree.
I don't know about the same punishment on both sides. I do agree, like you're saying right now, yeah, they ruined a whole the boy's life, off these false accusations. I don't think they should just off scot-free either. But I just think that nobody's focusing on the victims and the predators. There's so many out there, and the fact that they're just like roaming around and continue to do it to girls and a longer list of victims is just ridiculous.
I agree. I think that
It's
predators should fully be punished. But
Mm-hmm.
I
most
also
definitely.
I think that they should be punished to like the highest degree of which they could be punished. But I
Castration,
also feel like possibly, I mean,
murder.
I think that just depends
Murder's too
on.
easy.
I think that depends on the
That's the
level
quick, easy way,
of,
honestly.
Easy.
the level of the crime. But I also think that if you are falsely accusing someone of a crime like rape or murder, something that carries a long, like years long sentence, I think that if you are found to be making false accusations, then you should serve the time that that person would get were they to commit that crime.
Yes.
And I
For
think
sure.
that like if that person were to be not necessarily be found guilty, but if that person were to be falsely accused and be found guilty, then they would be registered as a sex offender. I think that there should be an equal list of like false accusers. I'm not saying that every time that they make that accusation that there should be false, but I feel like that's why rape kits are a thing, because there
Yeah,
needs to be a way to verify if this was an actual rape. Like your body will show trauma from a rape.
Yeah, and I feel like it's kind of sticky too because of people who can just say, "Oh, they're lying," but it really be true. Like there's just sometimes where you just don't have the proof. Like yeah, your body has it after a certain amount of time, but some people don't even register it or report it until like way later, and then they're basically just fucked if they don't have that DNA
That's
proof.
true.
And so everybody can just
That's
be like,
true.
"Oh, they're lying, they're lying, they're lying," and dismiss it so much. And so where's the justice in that too?
And I think for that there should be like there should be I guess like some type of check and balance in place. Like when you are assaulted, you carry a not only like you carry a mental scar. Like you form PTSD. Like there will be things mentally that will show that have that you've been like prey to some form of trauma. And I think that there should be a psych evaluation on the victim and the perpetrator, because you can't fake your mental health.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I
there
feel like
should
there's definitely
be
not enough work
there
put
should
into
be like
it as it should.
right, there should be like criminal like psychiatrists and psychologists, like how they have FBI profilers. They should have someone in, like on the ground that can check these things out and that be able to prove, yes, like there's no physical evidence, but we can see from like these brain scan or these CT scans or whatever that there was some form of trauma and that this person was involved. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, if that makes sense.
I get
So
what you're
again,
saying. Just to kind of like add on to though, also how tricky it can get. Yeah, I see what you're saying. You know, there's that like mental footprint or whatever. But what about those victims who have gone through it and it's like years later, like once they finally gotten over it, and it was like someone who did, you know, some fucked up shit and they have nothing, like, and they're like mental, they're kind of like over it, and time has passed and that person's just like roaming around.
like, should
So
there
things
I
be a
think
are really
statute
tricky.
of limitations then?
I
Like,
think there are limitations, and I
yeah,
think that's I don't think that that's fair because you can't put like a time limit on someone's pain.
Yeah.
like let's so if say like just to play a devil's advocate, if some people are saying that if we do put in some type of legislation that punishes people who are found guilty of accusing or of lying about rape, then would that deter actual victims from coming forward? Because yes, and let's say that just the way that the evidence goes, and the other side has a really good lawyer, and they just basically say, "Oh, you're lying," and even though you weren't.
That's what happens
So
now.
yeah, exactly. So
It's also
if they,
because people are not speaking up. Like, if they witness some bullshit going down and they're afraid to say something because they think, oh, it won't be cool with our football team or whatever, or we don't want to hurt our star football player. That's on them for not speaking up, and we gotta like change that and normalize
so
speaking up.
a lot of
Yeah.
it is outside of legislation. It's more about just changing whole culture and just the way
Mhm.
that everyone views rape, and what in how it's really just not okay. You can say with a lot of guys that a lot of them, they don't they enable their fellow guy friends to be rapists. They don't speak up
That's
about
true.
it. Like,
That's true. There's a lot of stigma on rape just overall and just sexual assault.
The fact
like
that so many women go through it, I mean, I feel like almost every woman I've met has gone through some type of sexual harassment and sexual assault. Like, how crazy is that? Like, almost every woman that you know has had an experience, maybe multiple. That just shows you how normalized it is and how everybody suffers through it, but nothing is getting done. Like, and I think it's also an issue of and not respecting women to feel like they're entitled to do those acts or whatever the hell is going through their mind thinking that they can do that. And it's just a sign of disrespect. Like what, like to the extreme.
oh yeah,
Mhm.
it's just a complete
It's really
dis-
fucked up.
disregard for their humanity.
It's a thing that society normal because it it sounds crazy, but that's the whole like women are women are viewed as objects. Like because that is such a like you were saying, it's such like a centuries long, I guess.
It's millennia.
Yeah,
Been
Yeah.
it's a millennia long idea that women are objects and women are to be used for pleasure and women don't have a voice, and that's why it's
uh,
so hard for women
I've heard
to
some
use their voice when they're
yeah,
hurt.
I've heard some anthropologists like theorize that maybe the reason why women are viewed the way they are in so many different cultures and societies is due to just the biological difference in men uh, being just usually just physically bigger, and so they can basically monopolize their violence, and use that as a way to control women.
That's true.
I'm bouncing like off of like what you were saying about it being like a centuries long, like however long, so long. I feel like slowly but surely, I feel like not fast enough, it's changing. And I think the change has to start with us. You know, we are future and have to just, you know, women now are being are now more comfortable to speak up. And, you know, it didn't used to be like that. Like you really couldn't speak up. Like now that people are speaking up and saying stuff, like, you know, it's becoming less. I just hope for the future generations, like it's just gonna improve, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
I
I
think
mean, it
it
really
also
is
has
up
to
to
do.
our generation because
Yeah.
we're the ones that are around the age that will have kids. It's up to us to raise our kids, you know, not to be complete pieces of shit.
I
And
think it
leave
also has to
somebody in the
not
past that is setting us back.
recognize when they've been like sexually assaulted or abused. Because if you can't recognize like in yourself that you've been a victim of sexual assault or rape, then you can't recognize it when it's someone else. Like with the whole see thing, like how he pays adult women to sleep with like his 12-year-old sons.
What the?
You guys
Yeah,
haven't heard
that's
about that?
definitely rape.
Oh,
What was
you haven't
that?
heard
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, that was
Boosie,
crazy.
Boosie badass. He like when his sons turn like 12 or 13, he will pay an adult woman to sleep with them,
It's disgusting. I
like
do
to have
remember
sex
that.
with them.
That's
Yeah, and that
rape.
like that's rape. But there are so many people. Like I know so many guys like in my family and like that I just know who are like, oh yeah, I had sex at 12. And then when you ask them like, well, how old was the girl that you had sex with? They're like 16, 17. Like at that point, mentally, she is more mature. Like she knows she is more aware of the severity of having sex, and that is assault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
feel like
definitely.
And I
Yeah.
think that's part of
assault is
why.
also overlooked.
What did you say?
Right. I said that like with guys and men, it's not as normalized. So accepting the
Right,
fact that
that's what
they
I'm saying.
also get raped, they're also victims. They want to just try to play it off like, oh yeah, like I was cool having sex with an older woman or whatever the case, or just be a man, grow up, like you should be happy. Like that's also double standards. And I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
they're victims too, they
And I
deserve
think that's part of
scrutiny.
why they don't recognize it. Like when like the victim becomes the victimizer, like I think that's why they don't recognize it.
Yeah, like
For
with
some
men,
people,
like I can
not for
say
everybody.
with a, you know, being 12 at one point and being a guy, I can say that, you know, if I had sex with an older woman, like I would that would probably like be one of the things that, you know, I'd be happy about. You know, this didn't happen to me, but you know, at 12, if you told me that, oh yeah, you know, you can sleep with this older woman, like I feel that a lot of guys that age would, you know, be happy about it. That would be something that I would want. And that's just the culture too, you know, like if if we were 12 and if Saint came up to me and said, "Hey man, I just slept with this older woman," you know, pretty sure like a lot of the guys would be like, "Oh man, that's awesome," you know, like can we do it too?
Mhm. I feel
And
like
Right.
you
that's
Yeah.
know,
part of
yeah,
the
most like
normalization of it.
when you're 12, like maybe like not every 12-year-old, but you know, especially like you're 13, 14, like you are very, very hormonally charged, and any anything will like any offer like that would definitely be on your list. And it
Well, it's a
really is
combo
different.
of that,
Yeah.
and then you have like movies and TV shows, and
Yeah, it's just the way we were raised, you know, just to
Yeah,
see,
society
oh
is
yeah, that's
telling you
normal.
that
It's
it's
normal.
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like
society
South Park,
tells
they
men that
did a
it's
really good
okay.
episode about this. They one of the characters in South Park, like his little brother is like in kindergarten and he ends up getting raped by the his kindergarten teacher. And the parents and the family are all freaking out. They're like, "Oh, we got to report this." They go to the police station and they tell them, and they're like, "Yeah, our son, he's in pre-K. He got raped by his teacher." And the first response that the police said, "Well, is she hot?" And they're like, "Here's a picture." And they're all like, "Nice." And that's like basically the whole premise of the episode, like that double standard. Because if you flipped it, if it was like a little girl sleeping with a man, like a grown man, that would entirely be not okay.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah. So as as girls, like when you guys were growing up, did you have fantasies about wanting to have sex with like an older man, like at say 13 or 14? Because I know for a lot of boys, that's true. I just want to see how it is, as girls.
I feel like it's kind of tricky because, like, I mean, 14, what is that, freshman year?
Yes.
So, freshman year, you kind of think about like, oh, like cute older guys, like the seniors and like even like the college. Yeah, you think about it like at that moment, but now thinking back, you're old. Like, no, that was way too young. It's way like soon. But yeah, I just get what you mean about like the fantasies or whatever. Like, because we're young. Like, even with it being guys that are 14-year-olds, like just young, you don't know any better. Thinking that oh, you have an older guy, like it's cute, like because it's normalized. But once we look back at it, we really see, oh, no, that's wrong. And I think that's the whole like point, the fact that we're so young and we don't know any better.
Yeah.
I think for me, when I was a freshman, I like saw and noticed that a lot of the upperclassmen were like super cute, but I was also afraid to like act on like any like, I guess you could say like sexual things that I have for them, because my thought process was like, they're gonna want something that I'm not gonna be able to deliver.
True.
Like I was like they're going to want like a level of experience that I don't need. Like this is just my thought process. Like it was like they're gonna want a level of experience that I don't yet have. First, I need to level up. Like that was my whole entire process. I was like, I need to take baby steps, and there are cute guys in my grade, so I need to talk to them first, and I need to experiment with them first, because at least we're the same age and mentally we're at the same space.
I think some guys
my whole
also,
idea.
some girls are more vulnerable. They take advantage of that. And it's like the opposite, that they want somebody that they can like control over, and it's like a power issue, and they want to like dominate and prey on those girls because they're vulnerable. And I've seen that happen a lot too with the older people and like preying on freshmen like that. That's just a whole story, like game.
I guess this issue, it kind of ties back in with what we talked about near the beginning about body count of men versus women. Like, I think what it boils down to is society isn't accepting of female sexuality as much as it is with male sexuality.
Yes.
That's true.
I agree.
Where it's okay, if your son comes up to you and tells you that he's into someone who's like 20, 30 years old, some girl, they have posters of like women in bikinis and stuff on their walls. But if your daughter comes and tells you they're into older guys and stuff, and they have posters of men in swimsuits on their walls, then you're not going to be okay with it, or a lot of people wouldn't be. It really is like that repression of
I think it
the female
depends.
sexuality, right?
That's true, but I think it also
Go ahead.
how your parenting
Mm-hmm.
and how I guess how quote unquote progressive your parents are, or how, if you are a parent, how progressive you are. Does that make sense?
Like a dad would high five their son if their son told them that, if their like 16-year-old son told them that they banged like a 30-year-old woman, whereas if their daughter told them that they banged a 30-year-old man, they would come out with their gun trying to kill this man.
When it's the same thing.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
true.
You know, that's that
You
double
just
standard.
reminded me of a story. I'm not gonna say their name, but
Yes.
someone I knew in high school, they told me about how they like somebody in their family set up like I think like a aunt or a cousin, not blood related, to have sex with him. And when he told me that story, it was real weird, and it's super weird when you think about it when you get older. Like that's fucked up.
Yeah, that is not right.
That's
Yeah.
weird.
Older people normalize that and just try to make it seem like that's normal. It's not.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like it's all tied to the normalization of it all. Like it's sprinkled and instilled into our heads. It's okay. It's like it's normalized, like what you said, like the posters of, and it starts as something small like that. And so it's seen as normal and okay because, people do that. But in reality, it's not. And that's where it needs to stop. Like, stop normalizing this weird shit. Like, end it.
That's true. Because it gets
Exactly.
normalized everywhere on TV shows, in like
Mm-hmm.
literature, in fucking porn. Like there's so many
Music.
aspects of society that normalizes
Yeah.
weird age differences in between like couples, and like it's weird.
I mean, the age difference between couples, I think, once you reach like a certain mental age, like it's okay. I don't think that age should matter. Like after you reach a certain age, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Like it's definitely weird if an 18-year-old girl is dating like someone 50, or even vice versa. Like that is a little bit weird because you're not mentally fully developed yet.
Yes, I
Mhm.
agree. And did
But if you're like,
you all watch Tiger King? I remember Dr. Antle.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I mean,
we
those
had
girls were
talked about
technically
that.
of age, but I mean, he had all those. I mean, that was still very manipulative and predatory.
yeah,
It was.
Yeah, me and D talked about that like way before. And like I saw an interview, and I mean I don't know if I really believe it or not. Like he says like the director was kind of like the one that was accusing Dr. Anto of doing all that shit, she's apparently like the fiance of the director of that whole documentary. But he tried to discredit it, but it's still weird if you really did that shit. All of them are weird for being honest, especially
All
Joe Exotic using like
everyone
drugs
involved,
for
literally everyone involved in that bad shit crazy.
yeah. Seven, was there any more topics you want to add on to this, or go ahead and close
uh,
it?
I do have one. We can just talk about it a little bit. We don't have to go too much into. How do you guys feel about women and men in sports? Like
Hmm.
how the WNBA doesn't get as much, viewership or funding versus the NBA. Like the physical differences between men and women in, like, just biologically speaking.
Well, what do you mean biologically? Because in one case, I see that WNBA doesn't get taken as serious, and I think that all falls back to like double standards.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure what you mean by
Here, I'll give an example, like just hypothetical. Say MMA, they decide to do, or they want to do an open match, where a male can fight a female. And is that right? Should that be allowed? Like, if, as long as both parties like agree, like, this is what we want. We want to fight each other. And
I think if they're in the same
should we
weight
let that?
class,
Yeah, same weight class and everything. Should we let it happen? I know, like, as a society, people would view that like, oh, you're not supposed to hit a woman, that type of thing. Like, how should we deal with equality on that level? Like,
In that case,
okay.
like a sport, like I don't know, I feel like that's okay. Like the whole you shouldn't hit a woman, like that. I feel like is
I'm
the patriarchy. Like
yeah. I was just about to say I'm probably problematic to say this, but I like the way I was raised in is that if you hit someone, male, female, you hit a person, be prepared for them to hit you back.
yeah,
Like I don't. I like I know that people are like, oh, you shouldn't hit a girl, but like if a girl punches you in the face, then she probably needs to get punched back in the face. She punched you in the fucking face. Like, what was she
like
expecting? Like,
yeah,
as a
I
I
agree.
think that
That
that's not
reminds
necessarily
me.
yeah,
fair.
as a counter argument, people would say, oh, as a man, you shouldn't have to hit him. You should just restrain them since you're bigger and you're stronger. So, like, man,
That
if
reminds me of like in school when they were like, you get in a fight, you're not supposed to fight back. You're supposed to
yeah,
just
that's
basically
just
let it
stupid. That's just
happen.
stupid.
So yeah, literally,
I
just
was
do
never
it.
that. I was never that. Maybe that's because I've actually fought like a couple of guys before, like fist fought, and I won one of the fights and I lost fights, but like that's because that's just the name of the game when you fight someone. Like you're in some and you're gonna lose some. It just depends on the better fighter.
Yeah. So here's
And
another example. Say, I think there was a case about this where a a woman wanted to. I don't know if it was like college football or it might have been college football. She wanted to play on in college football, like as a part of the all male team. And people were saying, oh, you should let her because it's equality, while other people were saying, oh, like we're not going to do that because there's just a vast physical difference between the two sexes.
I feel like if she can, go for it. I mean, there's some women that are really strong
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
for example, like soccer, like just using this as an example because I know I've seen this, like some women are like better than guys. And so I don't know, I feel like if they fit into that team, like all means I feel like they should be able to join that team if they're able to, basically.
Yeah. I guess
I
like
just
what
don't like
this.
football. Like
I don't know.
football fucks
That's
up I don't like football fucks up like dudes that are like 6'5", 300 pounds, and it fucks up their brain. Like it literally
Yeah,
really fucks
yeah,
fucks
up the
up
brain.
their
Yeah.
brain.
Yeah,
Yeah,
football
like
scares me. Really
so I
does.
don't like I don't necessarily think that like anybody should be playing football, like
Right.
man or woman. Like maybe
Yeah.
but if
like football should
yeah,
just stop and like let football just
Especially
be
not
soccer.
Yeah.
kids.
Stuff like football and wrestling, that's kind of like a if thing. You can
yeah,
fuck up your head so bad,
Yeah,
and your brain just deteriorates, and you're not
and that's
yourself
it.
at that point. You're
CTE.
yeah.
I mean, it's the
Very.
same with like with boxing too, though. Because look at Muhammad Ali. He took hella punches to the head, and
Headshots. Yeah.
he and when he started to get older, like he started having memory issues and motor skill issues. Like anything where you're taking like constant like head trauma and constant concussions, it's going to. And I think that maybe like that's when you should like we need to tweak some shit in these sports
Mm-hmm.
because
To be regulated.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is how equal are the two sexes really, just when it comes down to on a biological level. Like, is it fair to say that the male sex and the female sex are equal in regards to just physical ability or even the ability to have a kid, which you could argue is one of the most important ability for a species?
Yeah, I feel like women and men biologically, I mean, they're not equal. I mean, literally, bodies are not the same. So I kind of see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Because I mean, women and men, they're different. They're different genders. Their bodies are different, and
that's just the way evolution played out, right?
that's just the way it is. Men and women are just different.
I do think that there are some things that we do, or some ways that we perform that are equal, though.
Of course,
for sure.
So, like, is it okay to make an argument based on biology to say, oh, women shouldn't and men shouldn't be allowed, or women shouldn't be allowed to play in a male sport because they're physically not as strong or whatever?
I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think it should be
I
just
think
based
it
on
depends
that.
on this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't. I think that if this woman or this man can hold their own and they can compete at the same level as everyone else, then they should be able to compete in that sport
So
or
yeah, like
whatever.
what? So going back to the WNBA example, like people are like, oh, why does not WNBA not get as many views and support? And you hear a lot of people saying because like they're not as good as male basketball players, and you can argue that that is also due to they don't get as much attention, so therefore the talent for coaching and training just isn't there for them in the same way it is for the NBA.
I think that there are WNBA players that are just good as NBA players. I think it has like the number of the exposure. Like when NBA season starts, everybody knows because you're seeing advertisements everywhere on your phone, on your laptop, TV, like on hella channels. Like you're seeing it everywhere. You know that's coming. You don't like WNBA doesn't get that same exposure. I think that if they did,
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I think that if they did, they would get those same numbers because in like the 90s and like the 2000s, like the early 2000s, the WNBA was pretty fucking like it wasn't like NBA popular, but it was like right there. Like there were people filling the seats. They were in the same arenas. Like it just depends on the exposure.
I think the argument of the women aren't better is bullshit because there's some. I mean, you watch a women's basketball, and you see how good they are. It's just they literally don't get that exposure and they don't get that advertisement and that funding and attention, literally. And so they're not as popular, but that doesn't mean they're not good.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I guess like with everything being equal, besides the sex, of course, if you get the same amount of training, same amount of viewership, funding, everything, but doesn't it there like just an upper limit on a male basketball player can just literally just jump higher or run faster or just be just physically strong just because of his sex compared to a female basketball player, same height, same weight, everything besides the sex?
I don't know if
I
that's
don't think
necessarily
so.
true because if let's say we do have two people of the same weight, what if that woman practice and is like really good at what she does, and you just have like like a man of the same weight but doesn't put in that work. Just because he's a guy, he's not going to beat her. Like she has.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said like everything equal. Like these two people have the same amount of training, so, under the same person, like everything being equal besides the sex. Like, let's say, what if LeBron James were a woman? Like, would this person's performance be impacted just because they're a different sex?
If
Like,
LeBron was
just like,
woman,
yeah.
like
I mean,
LeBron
just with the
should
way
still be the
biology
GOAT.
works, like there would be just a different body structure, and
I feel like if you're saying everything's equal, then I would say by all means try it out. I mean, you're saying they're
yeah,
equal in every variable, so I mean they should be able to go against
besides
each other.
sex,
Yeah,
besides sex,
besides
right?
that, I feel like, I mean, if everything else is good, then I feel like that should be good too. Like, they're up to par and everything else except for the sex. Like, I don't think only that should stop them from competing or playing together if they're, I mean, at
Yeah,
the same level, you know?
yeah. So, but what I'm trying to say is, does being a different sex just make your body not equal, like in terms of physical ability? Like, men should like usually have more upper body strength just because the way evolution made it out, and women usually have better lower body strength, like comparatively. Like,
Mhm.
does the sex, like being a certain sex, cap off your physical ability
I feel
for
like
certain
to a
things?
certain extent and
Yeah.
It
sometimes. Like,
depends
I
on the
don't feel like
sport,
there's like
though.
yeah, like I feel like it depends on everything.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of
Yeah.
hard to make these like general, questions when like everything matters. Because like if you say for the other instance that you were saying, if everything was equal, then no, I don't think just the sex like of male and female should matter if they're all equal and everything else. So in
Yeah.
that case, it would be okay. But in another case of like one not being as experienced as the other, then I would feel differently about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to look at it, because like at women's soccer, honestly, a lot of people can agree that some women's soccer teams are better than male soccer teams.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
And then you look at basketball, that's different because, of course, of the sex. It plays a big factor. You have guys like Michael Jordan doing some ridiculous dunks and people dunking for free throws and stuff like that. That's just,
Yeah,
sometimes that's just science. Like, there's nothing you can even do about that. Some people are just born with that type of ability.
exactly.
And then MMA,
Like,
that's kind of different too, because that's also a calculated sport too, and also like natural. That's something you train for months and months and months, and then you compete in that fight. It's not like basketball where you're training as a little kid to adult, and basically playing a whole fucking couple months, and then taking the off season to train even more, like year round.
That's true. I mean, look at Kobe said Gigi was better than he was at her age than he was at that age. So I think it really just depends on, like Saint was saying, it depends on the level of dedication.
Yes.
So, just like from what we were talking about previously, like just by biology, the male and female are not equal. They are not the same, right? So, like a good example would be a lot of times, like women will complain that men can't tell the difference between certain shades of colors, and that is true because women have more cone, the color receptors in the eyes, than men do. So we literally just can't see as many colors as you guys do. And the same, there's a lot of like different like genetic and biological differences because of the sex. So it can't be fair to say that everything that we do in our lives between men and women should be equal. Maybe proportional would be a better term than equal.
Yeah, I see what you're saying when there's
Yeah.
some things like that should be a difference. I feel like it's just what's being trying to be enforced in women is all the other things, not these instances of like these exceptions because of these differences. Like we have looked for the rights elsewhere, where we get wrongfully, we just don't get the same treatment simply because we're women when there's no biological reason behind it, simply because we're women.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, there are some people that believe that everything should just be equal no matter what. Like you try to make certain argument because just based on the difference in sex that these two things just can't be equal. Like equal opportunity, yes, but not make everything the same for men and women.
I agree.
So like I think there just needs to be that understanding that yes, there are just some things that men can do that women can't, and just the same the other way around. That there are a lot of things that women can do that men can't.
I agree.
And it's just hard for for a lot of people to say something like that without being labeled as misogynist or what have you. And I think as a society we need to come to terms with that. Like at the end of the day, there are just differences that we can't reconcile, and we need to appreciate those differences.
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be hard to parse through it.
I agree. We're definitely not equal. Like you said, there are things that we do differently, and then there are things that we do the same. It's just, I think because this is, I'm probably gonna sound problematic, but I think because of the whole like feminist movement, there's for equal for equal. We're not all completely equal. Like we're not. There are some instances where we are, but we do not do everything the same.
Yeah. Like the best way to put it is just let everyone have equal opportunity.
Yes.
Like just have the chance to do it. Whether you can or cannot, that's up to you.
Yeah, I like that equal opportunity.
Whatever it may be. Because I mean, let's face it. Like they say, everyone's equal or born equal, but that's definitely not true. Like what family you're born in, what genes you're born with, where you're born, that's all a roll of the dice.
And it definitely has an impact on who you become.
Yeah, so I mean, we covered a lot of topics today. So is there anything you guys want to talk about? Just close some things up, or if not, then we can close the episode out.
I think that's it.
Covered everything but Kobe and Gigi.
I mean, even though this is our last episode, I know we're dedicating it to them. I feel like we should have a separate episode, just for them. Maybe not
That's
a
true.
full length one, or we just do something else for them.
It's gonna be a bonus episode, but
more
the
proper.
whole
Yeah.
This one is attributed to them, especially because I wanted to end the season off episode 24, and this is 24th episode.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
Should you have done this 8th season on the 24th?
That's a wishful
Just
thinking. I don't
saying.
know if we would make it to 8 seasons. Here's to it.
You never know.
You never know, right?
Exactly. You have to speak things into existence.
I got this.
Manifest.
That's
Manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny is very different.
That's true. Very true.
I want to thank the ladies for coming on again. Like, thank you for speaking on this platform here.
Thank you for having us and letting us speak our voice.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for being on here. Really appreciate it. We look forward to hopefully having you guys on for more episodes. It might not just be focused on women like this episode was, but if you guys would like to talk more or there's some issues you guys talk about, let us know. And the viewers, let us know like what issues that are on your mind that you would like us to talk about. Remember, leave a like, subscribe, click notification bell. And the most important thing, if we get enough views, enough likes, enough subscribers, we will post Coconuts nudes on our Patreon, which is linked in the description.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Always.
yeah. I know this episode's been more of a serious tone. I didn't have as many chances to make jokes, so we'll get back to usual form in season 2. But till then, we'll see you guys later.
I feel like I need
Peace.
Peace.
help.
Yes, sir.
Bye.